What if one of the most popular Dragon Ball villains finally showed up in Super? And I'm not talking about Janemba. I'm talking about Cooler. Not just with a quick cameo, not some stupid ass weird version from stupid Super Dragon Ball Heroes, but a real Cooler introduction into Dragon Ball Super. And honestly, where we're at in Super right now, the timing couldn't be any more perfect. Because think about it. You got Frieza with Black Frieza. We still got Saiyans living. And somewhere out there, you mean to tell me that Cooler just never existed? Come on. Before we even get into any Super, we gotta acknowledge something. Cooler has always been one of the most loved Dragon Ball movie villains ever. Fans still talk about him. They talk about Cooler's Revenge, what happens to be one of my favorite Dragon Ball Z movies. The Return of Cooler. I mean, Cooler just had that energy. His design was pretty badass. His personality was different from Frieza. Even his transformation felt badass and legendary back then. While Frieza was more elegant and cruel, Cooler felt more serious. He felt more calculated, almost like a warrior emperor. And unlike some Dragon Ball movie villains that just came and went, Cooler stayed relevant in the fan base for years. They talk about him, they draw him, he's a playable character in your favorite video game. And it has a lot of fans that ask, why hasn't Dragon Ball made Cooler canon yet? Now, don't get me wrong. Seeing Cooler appear in stupid Dragon Ball Heroes was cool. It was aight. It was aight for the fan service. But let's keep it a buck. A lot of fans, including myself, hated how they treated him. He just kind of showed up, transformed in a golden Cooler, fought, and that was it. I think he fought with, what was that Saiyans name? Cumber? I think that was his name. There was no real depth to Cooler. There was no major interaction with Frieza. There was no emotional tension. There was no backstory. And that was a huge missed opportunity. Really also because fucking that shit was 10 minutes long. One day I might have to talk about that shit. But it was such a missed opportunity because the most interesting thing about Cooler wasn't just his strength, it was his relationship with Frieza. So if Cooler is canon, where has he been this whole time? Like, for real, think about it. Because Frieza died, he came back, got resurrected, unlocked Golden Frieza, died again, came back, and now we got Black Frieza, and Cooler just never appeared? That doesn't make any sense unless Dragon Ball gives us a real explanation. Maybe Cooler left the Empire long ago because he hated how Frieza did shit. Because remember, even in the movies, Cooler looked down on Frieza sometimes. Frieza ruled with fear, arrogance, and emotion. And Cooler might see that as a weakness. I could see Cooler being the older brother that distanced himself from the Cold Force because he thought Frieza was immature. Maybe Cooler was out conquering other galaxies, training in secret, and preparing for something bigger. And honestly, like for real, what if Cooler already knew about Beerus and the gods before Frieza did? That would instantly make him feel different and more dangerous. So now that we got Black Frieza, I know I'm not the only one who's wondered, how did he even obtain that transformation? What if Frieza didn't train alone? Because what we do know is that Frieza trained for 10 years in the Room of Spirit and Time, even before revealing Black Frieza. But what if Cooler was there too? Hear me out. Frieza realizes that Goku and Vegeta are becoming stronger with Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. He searches for someone he can trust, and the only person he can really turn to is his brother, Cooler. And that would be wild. Because not only would it explain where Cooler has been this whole time, it would instantly establish him to be someone on Black Frieza's level. Maybe Cooler was Frieza's training partner. Maybe they pushed each other to evolve. Maybe Cooler even surpassed Frieza at one point. And for real, that would create one of the best villain dynamics Dragon Ball has ever had. Because even if Frieza and Cooler work together, we all know there's tension between them. You know what would be pretty dope? It would be pretty dope to see if Cooler would still disrespect Frieza like he did before, or if he would finally recognize him after seeing Black Frieza. Would he salute him? Would he give him his props? My own opinion, I actually think Cooler would respect Frieza's power. He would see him, but he would still hate how Frieza does shit. Because Frieza's emotional, he's petty, he's full of himself. When Cooler just feels more disciplined. Frieza wants control. Cooler, he might just want order. They could even become rivals despite both being villains. Imagine them arguing over the future of the Frieza Force. That'd be pretty dope. Back in the Dragon Ball Z movies, Cooler hated the Saiyans because of what happened with Frieza. But in Super, I mean, everything's different now. I mean, you got Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Gohan, Trunks, Goten. And unlike Frieza, Cooler might actually respect Saiyan evolution, especially Vegeta. I honestly feel like Vegeta and Cooler would have a really interesting interaction. Everything would just be so fucking dope between those two. Vegeta might actually respect Cooler more than he does Frieza because Cooler carries himself more like a warrior than a spoiled tyrant. And Cooler would probably see Vegeta as the only Saiyan with true royal pride left. And Goku, I mean, we all know Goku. He would just love fighting Cooler, especially if Cooler has a new transformation. Goku would instantly see him as a challenge. But with Broly, now imagine Cooler witnessing Broly's raw power for the first time. That might actually remind him why Frieza was scared of the Saiyans in the first place. So speaking of transformations, if Cooler was to appear and become canon, there is no way he would appear with his old final form that we saw in the Dragon Ball Z movies. We all know that Dragon Ball Super loves transformations. So it's pretty obvious that Cooler would get something new. Maybe some black armored form, something that would be completely opposite of Frieza's smooth appearance. Imagine something brutal instead of something elegant. That would actually help separate Cooler from Frieza right there and then. And if we had Black Frieza and Cooler just has some brutal, savage form, that could have Goku and Vegeta be like, yo, this motherfucker's Frieza's brother? So let me ask you something real quick. If Cooler was to appear, would he be fully evil? I mean, because I know we don't want to see him be a hero, right? But we don't want to see him be completely insane like Frieza either. Maybe Cooler sees bigger threats coming. Maybe he believes Frieza's obsession with revenge is stupid. Maybe he only fights when it's necessary. And that would make him feel way more interesting than just another Frieza. Dragon Ball Super needs more layered antagonists. We need more foes. And Cooler could absolutely become that. At the end of the day, Cooler finally showing up and becoming canon in Dragon Ball Super would be fucking dope. Not just because he's strong, but because the potential the story would have, bro. Like his relationship with Frieza, his reaction to the Saiyans, his thoughts on Vegeta, his possible connection to Black Frieza, and the mystery of where he's been at this whole time. I mean, there's so much Dragon Ball can do with Cooler. And it would be dope to see Cooler show up and see how he would handle both Frieza and the Saiyans. It would be dope to see him get a transformation we've never seen before. But what do you think? Do you think Cooler should become canon? Where do you think he's been at this whole time? Do you think there is some type of connection on how Frieza has Black Frieza. Like, what would you want to see from Cooler in Dragon Ball Super? Y'all already know the deal. Hit me up in the comments, hit that like button, share this video, turn on notifications for more Dragon Ball content, discussions, theories, what ifs. I'll see you on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.